evening to you. I'm Pearson Bowen. Government is about to intervene in the situation involving Nigerian students dissatisfied with their accommodations at a local hotel. Confirmation of this from Acting Minister of Tourism and International Transport, Senator Irene Sandiford-Garner. While noting that at no point was the government consulted on the initiative, she said the country's reputation is at stake and so the state must get involved.
We are concerned. I will tell you now that the government of Barbados is very distressed and concerned at the developments because these students would have come in good faith to this country. The government understands the challenges that they would have had at the height of the season, because remember, the tour was to come in summer when we would have had a different type of occupancy level. It happens now in the winter season when everywhere is practically booked. So the choices were not that wide.
Senator Sandiford-Garner says in future any such arrangement must have some level of government monitoring and control. Given
the potential for fallout, which the initiative could have should things go wrong, as in this case. We've never had it happen before, but we now have an occasion to review these types of arrangements and to ensure that we are involved as a government to protect the reputation of our country, because I'm sure the organizers meant well. I can't speak to what would have transpired to what would have transpired at the hotel, but I do know that as a government we would have to take greater control or interest in such initiatives going forward.
Well, at a media conference earlier today, the Nigerian students spoke about the issue. They told CBC News they are not here to cause trouble and just want what was promised to them. That was the message from 4 of the students speaking on behalf of the 90-member group at the Clement Payne Center. The Nigerians came to this island at the end of last year to study at the Barbados Community College and are upset about their accommodation at the Casa Grande Hotel in St. Philip. They said they're not comfortable and want to be relocated immediately. The students, who are from the Delta in Nigeria, said their government paid for their hotel stay of 9 months at the Infinity Hotel, which reportedly is now booked. The group is also upset that police and armed members of the Defence Force turned up at the property after they complained. They said they are emotional but not threatening.
Our coming here is not because our government do not have the financial capability to take us to the US to study, but they saw the reason to bring us here. We're coming here to study hospitality, tourism, and agriculture. We coming here is an opportunity for us to know our long-lost brothers, and for our long-lost brothers to actually have the opportunity to know some of the things that they do not know about the African race.
David Komashong, the president of the Clement Payne Movement and chairman of the Caribbean Pan-African Network, says the Pan-African community has stepped in to assist the students and save the educational project, which he says is worthwhile.
We don't want you going back to Nigeria. We don't want any of the 90 of these, any of these 90 students giving up on this project and going back to Nigeria before it has even been given a proper chance to get off the ground, before they can get that experience of going into the community college and meeting their Barbadian peers. So hopefully good sense will prevail, that we will be able to sit down and work out all these problems and arrive at a situation where these students can feel comfortable over the next 9 months in Barbados. Right?
Meanwhile, the Nigerian embassy in Trinidad has appointed an attorney-at-law, Esther Arthur, as a watching brief. The Nigerian-born Arthur, who lives here with her Barbadian husband, says the Delta government is monitoring the situation. Well, owner of Casa Grande Hotel, Ram Merchandani, says the complaints by the Nigerian students have caused her embarrassment and a loss of business. She told CBC News The facility is top class and continues to receive favorable reports from guests. The businesswoman says her employees are working around the clock to make the stay of the 90 students more comfortable. Ms. Ram says she was only given 2 days' notice to prepare for their arrival.
This episode, which is taking place in Barbados, has affected our business. We've got about 400 or 500 calls. We've got some cancellations for people to come here. We never anticipated that this type of situation would ever arise. My maids go and clean their rooms every day. We put in toilet paper, we put in soap. Anybody wants extra soap, extra toilet paper, it is available in the front desk. They are supposed to hand the keys to us so that the maid can go and clean their room. We have cards given to each room that when you want the room cleaned, please put the card outside, clean my room, so that the maids can go and clean their room and put in all the necessities. The necessity is the soap and toilet paper. And we also change their towels. The question is, if they don't leave the keys, we cannot get into their rooms.
Well, government is taking a two-tiered approach to ensure Barbadians due to receive unemployment benefits continue to receive them. The first part involves a cabinet decision to provide a cash injection of $12.5 million to the unemployment fund. In addition, cabinet has approved a recommendation from the National Insurance Board to suspend contributions from employers to the severance fund for 2 years. The money that would normally go to that fund will now be diverted to the unemployment fund at no additional expense to the employer. These were the main highlights of a press statement from Minister of Labour, Social Security and Human Resource Development, Senator Dr. Esther Bayer-Suku, as she sought to allay fears that the fund is in peril.
These measures will shore up the fund and ensure that all Barbadians who have contributed and qualify for unemployment benefits will have protection during the periods of unemployment. The other 4 types of security benefits, short-term, including sickness and maternity, long-term or pensions, employment injury, and severance, are not affected. Additionally, the investment portfolio is also sound, as investments internationally, regionally, and locally are performing satisfactorily.
Coming up after this break, Barbados is asked to help curtail the cash flow to criminals. But first, we'd like to get your take on this question. Should the government move to intervene in the Nigerian students' issue? Text yes or no to the short code 8111. The results at the end of the news.
Dear Clark, I've made a fascinating discovery. The institutional water cooler. Its gravitational pull sucks people from their workstations at the busiest times of day to stand around it and chat about emerging global trends like, will pink be in fashion next season? Meanwhile, the world slows to a stop as it waits in line to be served. I don't see that trend at Globe Finance.
Globe Finance. Think outside the bank.
When it comes to their financial service, slow is out, swift is in.
You have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. You have to appreciate yourself and appreciate life. This is Ding Dong Ravers. I will end us in live up, love, respect. Ding Dong Ravers, live up. Life is much, much more than what you think. Live up.
Attack. A business representing for live up, you see. Love, protect, respect, you see. Put in the work and then I can like you get that. So long since you're gone, I really need her on my arm. Girl, I'm missing you. Bless up.
I am blessed. Live up so blessed. And live up, never give up.
Together, we all can make the difference. So get your no on and turn up the message. Live up, love, protect, respect.
As the United States moves to stem the flow of cash to criminals and their networks, it wants Barbados' assistance in the effort. It is calling on the island to pass civil assets recovery legislation. Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy, Ambassador Aruna Amirthanayagam, says America is working to ensure a secure and safe Caribbean. He points out that depriving criminals of cash makes them powerless. He says America's support through a fraud and asset forfeiture confiscation workshop is but another step in strengthening citizenship security and developing law enforcement capacity.
This training will teach the latest techniques being used by criminals, the latest strategies for swindling business owners, consumers, and law-abiding citizens. Citizens in the Eastern Caribbean lose millions of dollars in revenue and income to fraud each year. This team of experienced federal prosecutors and attorneys who are here with us have traveled here to share with you their best practices and the most effective means for investigating and trying complex fraud cases. Collectively, they offer over 60 years of prosecutorial and law enforcement experience.
Chief Justice Sir Marston Gibson wants Barbados to remain alert for innovative criminals. He, too, is all for having the profit removed from crime.
We need civil forfeiture legislation badly. The incentive for people to get into crime is the profit motive, the age-old motive that has driven man from pretty much from his inception. And the best way of removing that profit, that incentive, is removing the profit.
And Director of Public Prosecutions, Charles Leacock, welcomed the U.S. support in providing training to several entities, including the police force and customs.
I thought that would have been rather challenging to do in terms of obtaining funding for this, but thankfully, as a result of discussions with Julie through the Embassy of the United States, they were happily able to source some funding for this training through the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. I'm indeed very grateful and deeply indebted to them.
A man is nursing a gunshot wound after a shooting incident in New Orleans, the city. That incident reportedly occurred around 4:30 this afternoon. The man whose identity is not yet known was taken to hospital for treatment. Police were forced to respond with a large contingent of vehicles and officers because of further disturbance in areas by residents. Prime Minister Frendel Stewart says the issue of regional travel is one with which Barbados and other countries in the Caribbean continue to grapple. The Prime Minister was speaking during the latest reception for repeat visitors at Ilaro Court last night. He says something needs to be done to address the situation since CARICOM is Barbados' third largest source market.
We have not got it resolved as yet. We still have to rely on Leeward Islands Air Transport to ferry people around, and I'm sure that most of you know that the vagaries of that experience have led people in the Caribbean to interpret LIAT not as Leeward Islands Air Transport, but as Leave Island Anytime.
There is a suggestion that the family unit will remain compromised as long as the age of consent remains 16 instead of 18. That's the view of Director of the Pure Sex Center, Ambrose Carter.
When you say that you want to give children the ability or the authority or the autonomy to go and get medical checkups without parental consent, I think that it is an erosion of the parental authority and the message that we want to send to our young people. If we want basically a holistic family situation and a good moral family unit, a closely knit family unit, we cannot be seen to be dividing the family. And that's how it looked like to us. You're dividing the family, giving the children rights, taking away the parents' rights. Yes, we have problems in society, but we need to fix them, not fragment them further.
Mr. Carter lauds Christian reggae artist Arnold Goslin, or Gozzy, as a morality hero. This after the artist donated funds raised at an album launch to the Pure Sex Center and other organizations. Gozzy says that this is a way of giving back to the charities for allowing him to work with them.
These charities are Family Heartbeat Ministries International, the Drug Educational Counseling Services, and Amar Empowerment Network. They all tackle various issues that we face in the communities: drug education, sexual immorality, and the upliftment of the family. And after working with them over these years and seeing they work with me as well, I said that part of what I would like to do is to give back to them.
Regional news next, but first a reminder we'd like to hear from you on this question. Should the government move to intervene in the Nigerian students' issue? Text yes or no to the short code 8111. Those results are coming up. Follow CBC News on Twitter at CBC_Barbados, Facebook, CBC News Barbados.